Hi there, welcome to another edition of Israel Explained. There's a lot to get to, so let's jump right in. The first thing we'll talk about is what we started to discuss in the previous episode yesterday, which is the new Israeli plan to take over all of the Gaza Strip, something that supposedly Netanyahu supports. On Thursday, there's going to be a cabinet meeting to vote on the future of Gaza, in which Netanyahu will heavily recommend that all of the Gaza Strip be taken over, and his defense minister Israel Katz will second that. I'm betting the chief of staff Zamir will not be invited because, by all reports, he is against that. Now, um, I would have a word of caution about believing that the plan is actually to take over all of Gaza. I saw a report yesterday on Channel 12 by Nir Dvori, their military correspondent, where he said that what Netanyahu really wants to do is take over the city of Gaza. And that would really fit with the kind of thing that he's done before, which is make noises of taking over Gaza, make noises that he's going towards a decisive blow to Hamas, and not actually do it. So while the leaks coming from Netanyahu himself talk about taking over all of Gaza, those reports seem more believable um, to me. The Israeli military leadership, Zamir, and everyone underneath him, there doesn't really seem to be any opposition inside the military, are against that plan. What they want to do instead is reach a deal or pressure Hamas to reach a deal by encircling areas where Hamas is still strong and raiding them intensely without physically taking over large parts of the Gaza Strip, which they believe the IDF does not have the manpower to do. And they also believe that it will put hostages in danger. The same report from Channel 12 um, said that none of the commanders in the IDF want to take any steps that will put the hostages in danger, and they firmly believe that this would. One of the reasons they believe that is because some of the rescued hostages have told the Shin Bet and the IDF that Hamas have put up sensitive cameras, sensitive to movement, and booby traps near all the hostages so that they'll be able to be alerted when the IDF is coming near and to kill any hostages when they come near. So they believe that operating in areas where, according to their intelligence, the hostages are present will put them in immediate danger. And that sounds very likely to me. So those are the main reasons that the entire military leadership is actually against this. There's been a lot of report in Israeli media that Zamir, the chief of staff, might even resign for this, but I don't believe any of that for a second. The chief of staff resigning is a massive blow to the Israeli security institution, and I can't imagine a chief of staff would do that, especially so early in their term. So I'd be shocked if that happened. It seems more like an attempt to manufacture headlines to me than an actual crisis. But Netanyahu is proceeding with this despite the opposition. He has the full support of Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, as I mentioned, Katz, and as a result, most of the cabinet. It's not clear that anyone would vote against it. Um, Even Arya Deri is unlikely to vote against it, and he's the most dovish on the um, hostages. The hostage families are very much torn on this issue. The vast majority of them are against an escalation that will take over Gaza. One hostage family said, quote, "The blood of every hostage taken alive returning in a body bag is on Netanyahu's hands," end quote. But there are others that have said that there's not enough military pressure and that an escalation would provide that military pressure. And of course, Netanyahu will prefer to listen to those voices over the voices of the majority of the hostages who believe that he's putting their families at risk. Um, Meanwhile, we've had news from the United States today. Trump seems to be moving in an interesting direction, not necessarily a very helpful direction to ending the war. He said um, that as far as ending the war is concerned, and as far as full occupation of Gaza is concerned, quote, "I really can't say. It's going to be pretty much up to Israel." What he did say, though, is that the humanitarian element is something that he's going to get more involved in. He said, quote, getting people in Gaza fed, Israel is going to help with that in terms of distribution and also money. The Arab states are going to help us with that in terms of the money and possibly distribution, and this is what I am focused on, end quote. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing that the United States is moving away from trying to resolve this conflict. They have seen from trying to um, be the mediators between Israel and Hamas that it's actually impossible to reach a deal based on the current red lines of both sides. Why? Hamas want an end to the war, and they want firm guarantees that the war will not restart, and they also want full Israeli withdrawal. Israel's not willing to do any of that. Israel wants to be able to renew the war after and to keep certain areas in order to continue their plan of ethnic cleansing and genocide in the longer term. So there's really no way that Hamas can agree to that, and there's no way Israel can agree to the terms that Hamas wants. So instead of insisting that one of the sides change their red lines, preferably in this case Israel, so that they can end the war, they've decided to only focus on the humanitarian. So to alleviate or lessen to some extent those very serious pictures that are coming out of Gaza. The main thorn in that American plan, from Trump's perspective, is that Qatar is very much against it, and they, of course, want to save their Qatari um, proxies in Gaza. And another thing that Trump has said that Qatar doesn't like is that they want to rebuild Gaza, but will only do so after Hamas leave. The idea being to put pressure on the people of Gaza to cooperate in the removal of Hamas. The trouble with that is it won't work. And why won't it work? Because the only force there trying to remove Hamas is the IDF. And even though some Gazans may prefer Israel to Hamas, there aren't going to be enough of those after Israel performed a genocide on their people, and it's continuing to perform a genocide on their people to overcome Hamas. So it's a non-starter. But again, something that Qatar really doesn't like because it threatens their proxies. So we're going to be following this very closely here as it goes to a vote on Thursday, whether there's an actual escalation leading to all of the takeover of Gaza, or as I believe, just the takeover of Gaza City. But one thing we know for sure, they're going to get the green light from Trump to do whatever it is that they want to do, as long as they give some humanitarian aid while they do that. And we've seen what kind of humanitarian aid Israel and the United States provide to the people of Gaza, coming with the slaughter of people waiting online. So I don't believe this is any kind of good news for the people of Gaza at all. Of course, there's been very little of that. Okay, if you like what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon, consider subscribing to my Substack, The Grand Scheme, and listening to my history podcast. I'll be here again very soon when something interesting happens, probably tomorrow.